Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again for the second session of the Playtime Session Speaker Series brought to you by GMA Esports. We are GMA Esports. My name is Kevin Sultani, brought to you here in sunny LA. My partner, Jassim in Dubai, he was on for the first session, but we switched up the system for our USA partners today because our speaker today for the second session is an awesome speaker, fast becoming a good friend in the industry, and just a great overall professional for everything that's happening in esports and gaming competition. I'll let him do his good intro, but just to give you guys a quick intro, Mr. James Shilkrit is joining us for today's session. He is the events manager at Blizzard Entertainment, focusing on event strategy, planning, and live experiences for first the Overwatch League in the last 2-3 years, and more recently in the last year with the Call of Duty leagues. So I'll let him get into some of his past life and some of the really cool things he's gotten into more recently and in the past, because I know it's very beneficial for this session, which is going to be on events management, organizers, organization, and all things leagues, competition, and how the franchise systems became just these massive large events that are now some of the largest events in the world. And right on time, Mr. James, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Kevin?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. We had a bit of technical difficulties last week for getting you on, so apologies on our end, but I know I'm excited to have you on, so thank you for your time and energy today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on too. Thanks for inviting me, Kevin. And I apologize for my computer camera. It is the worst location I've ever seen on a laptop, but it's like
it's the new
the worst angle known to man.
Yeah, it's the new we're all at home and these are our new offices, and we all have some kind of streaming setup, background, fun stuff with family and life. So
Yeah. No problem. Well, well, thanks for your intro. So to kind of give a little bit about myself, as you mentioned before, I was at Activision. I was, I'll go back before anything else. Is that I really started my career with the Los Angeles Galaxy. I worked my way up from what was my first title? Grassroots marketing coordinator when I first joined, because I wanted to work in soccer since I was a soccer rat growing up, and played in high school, college, a little bit semi-pro, and got myself into the LA Galaxy there for 11 years and worked my way up all the way to director of operations and event presentation. So when that job really kind of detailed of getting events done from soup to nuts for an event day, for match days. Also working on club soccer, on youth soccer tournaments that the Galaxy put together and sponsored. Also our grassroots marketing stuff, shuttle. We had a promotional shuttle, went to youth events, things of that nature. So that kind of fell under me. And then right after Galaxy, I moved on to Saatchi & Saatchi, and really more on strategy side of things, having a client of Toyota USA, and focusing really most on experiential marketing and then sponsorships for Toyota, for music festivals, to lifestyle events, things of that nature. And I was there for 6 years. And now for the last 3 years, I've been Activision Blizzard. Really started off with just working as an esports manager, events manager, working on, Heroes of the Storm and StarCraft, and for BlizzCon, and then a position opened up over at Overwatch League, and been there ever since on the esports side of the league. So Overwatch League from 2017 to 2019, and now with Call of Duty this year in 2020. So it's been a roller coaster year, but circle. It's been fun. Yeah, full circle's right.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the more recent stuff with Call of Duty and then Overwatch in a little bit. But I would love to learn, and I'm sure people, for the purposes of this conversation today, on how we got to a lot of traditional professionals that are doing great work. I mean, traditional professionals in their previous lives that are coming over into esports and gaming and doing fantastic work. And it's not that's what it's untraditional. It's what's needed in an industry that's in its beginning infancy of the Riot kind of franchise model, or not just Riot. In your case, I say Riot because they perfected the global with one game. You guys went and did multiple games, and now showing this is a massively large infrastructure. So Riot hires a lot from within, but Activision Blizzard hires these great professionals around the world that do magnificent work in their traditional lives, and now they're translating that into esports and gaming. On the event side, I can't imagine that any more important because of the infrastructure involved. If you're able to run Wembley Stadium, you're probably qualified to run, the championships of any set. And that's exactly what's going on, one for one. And have you felt that experience obviously is translated over? It is an infant industry, but your experience being so heavy and hard with the Galaxy, it's been, I don't know if seamless is the right word, but,
nope.
Not seamless, but,
seamless, but
you're a professional, right? You feel, you feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit before, that I feel there's a lot of strong parallels with MLS and just esports in general. Because when I grew up with the Galaxy for 11 years, we were a very, niche sport, right? Soccer was not popular. Soccer, was still, when it comes to a sport in general in the United States, a massive education of the major demographic of people that watch sports. People know what soccer was, but didn't know anything about what teams were playing, where they were playing, didn't know the rules of the game. So I see that a lot now with esports, in a way where it's still, like you said, it's an infant stage of where it is, as in like on the event side. But very popular in Korea, right? It was much more popular in Korea than it was in the United States, and now with the United States isn't involved. It's kind of like how with soccer was. It was very very popular in the world, but the United States it was still had some growing pains. But I feel that they both have this parallel of growth. I just think esports has more of a hyperloop type of trajectory compared to MLS, but they still have the same growing pains, as in you don't have the physical brick and mortar infrastructure yet, and they're getting to that, right? There's a lot of companies out there that are building esports specific arenas or venues, but not for anchor tenants for, let's say, a professional team yet. But those type of things is where I see the parallel, and that's where the esports has this great advantage of just having technology behind it to really kind of push it. And they have a good infrastructure, they have a good fan base, they have a good community, just like I think soccer did. But I think it's even stronger because of now we have communications we can use that we didn't have back then. So for me going into it, it's I try to use a lot of what I've learned in the past, right, of doing events, but there's a lot of things I still I was trying to figure out, as in the production of a esports event is not as the same as obviously a regular sport, right? I mean, you have a stick and ball, you have a field, you have grass, and then like a subcategory would be the broadcast of that event, right? Yeah. The broadcast group would come in, they would broadcast a match, and then go off on their way when the event's over. Well, obviously in esports, the broadcasts in the game itself are intertwined so closely that the broadcast is the playing field. So those are the type of learnings that I'm trying to understand. But there is some math similarities when it comes to events, right? You still got to have security. You still have to, have tickets. You still have to have fan engagement. You have all these things that are still pretty much parallel and the same as in anywhere you go. Now we have another component is now not just security, but also health security and how people now feel now in a pandemic, how we're going to get out of this and try to understand how we're going to, another element we have to kind of really consider when we're doing live events in 2021 or whatever, we're going to, start being in front of people again.
Right. How do you feel is the closest comparison to, because I didn't work in traditional sports prior, but I make the example of 1970s sports, because some of the leagues like MLS, like the NBA, were quickly becoming franchise leagues. And some of the bigger names with deeper pockets had that opportunity to get into that league. And that's almost really one for one what's happening in the esports is if you had a team available or ready and you have a little bit of deep pockets, you're going to be able to get into pretty much any league. Now replace the deep pockets with just a winning team. A lot of those like winning teams are now gone because they couldn't afford these bids to get into the leagues, to get in. And now we're seeing some leagues have completely disappeared. Some of them are getting really strong and everything in between. What is it going to take? Is the barrier to entry so high now for the tier one games, the NBA, the NFL of our esports, it's just discouraging now for the business, innovators on the esports side? Because I know a lot of people in esports teams are hemorrhaging money. And it's a very expensive endeavor to partake in, is an esports team owner. If that's all you do, it's very difficult to make money. So, and we had many conversations, the last 3-4 conversations that we've had is just on the innovation. If the innovation stops, so I know you guys are constantly innovating. In 2021, if the physical world doesn't come back, let's just go with this new world that everybody keeps talking about, this new world of digitalization. You guys have to be talking about some really heavy digitalization stuff. But I'm not asking for you to drop it from your beats. But what does the new world look like if these new, like I said, the new MLS trying to become franchise leagues? How do these new teams do anything, right? Now the barrier to entry became just even higher and higher because everything now is digital. So how does it affect the event side for you guys?
Well, I think for a lot of teams to have an event, for anything from soccer to basketball, a live event component is also that additional revenue stream to make money for a franchise, right? That's what MLS was struggling so much in the beginning of, let's say, in like early 2000s, is because in their late 90s is that these teams would be playing at the Rose Bowl, for instance. The Galaxy played the Rose Bowl, or like the Kansas City team played in their Arrowhead Stadium. They didn't own these venues; they were tenants, and so revenue streams was like ticket sales, and some of that ticket sales, went right to the league, and then you get whatever's left over, and so those things are big for esports to have, as a teams to have those revenue streams, and that's why they're hemorrhaging, is because we don't have anything outside of sponsorship, right, and winning of tournaments or the league to make any type of money. If you don't have those revenue streams, it's going to struggle. And I think that's where, how you say, like, now that we have to, let's say this is all just going to be digital, if that's the case, I get worried, because I'm like, oh, live events is, that's what makes this a big thing, makes it bigger, because everybody's involved. Well, I just know there's probably companies out there right now going, this is an opportunity. Like, I think what people tend to see now is like, it's a bad situation, but what a great opportunities we can do with this. And I can see digital companies of some sort, or production companies, trying to figure out a way, how can we engage fan base that is in front of a screen that can get close as possible to the real thing. You can see with Major League Baseball's trying, join animated people into the crowd to kind of make it look like
a
people. Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that on the facade, it looks, it somewhat helps, but it doesn't. That engagement aspect of a fan is like still not there. So I don't know what's out there yet, but I feel like this has now given a situation where someone's going to find out a solution how they can bring a system that will not only engage fans, like they're like almost at a live event, but also how can it bring in money through sponsorship? How can it just be something that that just adds another layer to the event that is needed, right? There's going to be a need for it, because I feel like this is going to, especially for esports, I think it's going to happen more often. At least this year, we're not going to be going any place anytime soon. But like, I think it's going to be where, if there's options where we can get fans engaged without going to a live event, because like, think about it, well, eventually if we go to live events, we have a live events, how do we get that global reach, right? And that's going to help add that global reach to a club or to a team. So I have to say, it's like, those are the things I'm interested to see in the future. Like, who's going to come with some really cool applications to get people really involved. And I know there's companies out there doing it, but it's still, that's a still infant stage of what what they're trying to accomplish.
Because even if the new norm of the live events and 6 feet or 50% capacity, and or if it gets back to normal, still you're seeing countries now shut out certain other countries because of the way they handled this problem. And I'm sure there's many a problem about to come that we are going to mishandle or
look at
whatever.
Yeah. So just look at baseball right now.
Yeah, in esports, we're such a global team environment that every team has at least 2 to 3 languages spoken from 2 to 3 different continents. And so how do you manage that growing into the world championships of next year? Plus the new, if it's going to go digital, how do you solve that problem? Because we're still not there with latency and ping and problems there. I know there's some great companies solving, those problems, but right now we're just not there yet. So we still need to figure out the user experience online. And if we get back into the physical world, what does that new user experience look like? To generate more, on the business side, more revenue for the organizer, because it's now become a lot tougher to, make those revenues physically, obviously. And then how does that look like for, like streamers and gamers? Now certain streamers are bigger than the game itself. And they're bigger than the tournaments or the actual event going on Saturday, Sunday. And so organizers, developers have to be looking at that like, yes, that's fantastic if they play our game. And B, if they're a good citizen for that game. I guess there's a C. Usually those are not professionals, right? They're just streamers or influencers.
Right.
So they're bigger than the game and the event itself. What's got to give if that bad-mouthed citizen isn't such a good model citizen, but 3 times the streaming, right? It's a hard pill to swallow, but you gotta,
Well, one thing is that this is where it's interesting, because the streaming became more popular before a lot of the professional league levels, right? So they had an advantage because they had YouTube, they had whatever, Twitch, and then when it went on and talked about games and played games or whatever it may be, they're obviously here before a lot of leagues were even developed yet. So they've had this, years of garnering a fan base, right? And now it's the norm. It's kind of the norm. It's like, and I don't know how you, it's how they can be part of the league other than like maybe talking about. I can't see them being professional playing league, because a lot of them try it and they go, "This is too much work. It's pretty stressful." We saw a lot with Overwatch League in the first year, is that a lot of players are like, man, it's a lot of stress. They love doing the streaming. They like playing the game, but adding the being on a team seemed to be that's a lot of stress, right? For them to try to compete and be in a team focus. And then they go, a lot of them see like, actually, is it worth it? I mean, I can make money just streaming, and that's what we have to compete with. And I think we're still going to have to compete with that for a long period of time. And I think it's always going to be that. But I think the way to look at it is how do you make these people be actually a fan or be a ambassador of whatever IP they're playing, right? And they kind of do that right now, somewhat. But I think that's the marketing aspect. Like, how do you capture the organicness of this streamer and being more involved in the esports element? The developers get it. They love the streamers no matter what they do, because they're talking about the game no matter what, right? If it's a streamer just talking about a certain game, they play it all the time, then it's not for them it's like, well, they're helping us promote this game no matter what.
You guys love what's going on right now,
right?
With you guys and Warzone,
yeah,
right?
yeah, Warzone's doing all, and it's like, so it's like, it's great, and like and so it's more like, how can they complement us rather than compete with us? It's the real big thing. And complementing can be different ways, by like you said, like maybe it's doing charity events or charity tournaments, or being a part of some other elements that surrounds an event, right? Use them as a what they are. They're a great, and for the ones that are positive, are great spokespeople for that game and why they love it.
Right.
And you want to celebrate that. So how can we have them celebrate it on an event scale? You can do it many different ways, from being on site, competing with other people,
right,
having them stream live. There's a lot of opportunities there, but it's weird, because it's like, you don't have that anywhere else, right? No other sports you're going to have that. There's that gaming has. It's unbelievable. It's one of those things you learn. I'm learning more and more every day about how strong the streamers have a hold on the gaming community. So it's really cool.
Right. And with everything that's going on with online tournaments, you're seeing a ton of charity tournaments, you're seeing a ton of events left and right. And 99% of those are not sanctioned by the developer itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I'd say 99% of those are not a problem, because like you said, the developer's excited that the people are excited. And if they're using it, the bigger it gets, fantastic. As you see some of the largest tournaments, Chipotle, they all do the Warzone tournaments more recently. And obviously that's all we have, right? That's all we have right now. There is no world championship. It's almost actually like this is more fun to watch than the world championships, because this is all we have right now. So some of these personalities who have now become household names during the pandemic are all playing Warzone. They're all playing Call of Duty. And so and it's not a physical event. And if it was a physical event, it'd almost be larger than life now, because individually these players they can host their own tournament and conduct a lot of prowess. Is there anything that, I know we're waiting till 2021, but with your work in Call of Duty, is there anything you can touch upon that's exciting for the fans? Like if all goes well with the virus, if whatever, can we expect like a championship next year? Not getting political on like, can the Chinese team come and can the Brazilian team? No, can the fans look forward to, if all goes well in the world, a championship in 2021, or is it just we gotta see?
I mean, if it all goes well with the world, I would say definitely.
I guess that's a big, broad.
Yeah, because I think everybody, I think we were getting momentum beginning of the year from the start of the 2020, right, with Minnesota, the launch weekend, and we were getting great results with Atlanta and London, and I think we know there's a need for a live event component. I think people want to be involved in it. I know if you told me 10 years ago, or anybody, it's like, so tens of thousands of people are going to come watch somebody play another person in video games and do it in person, and I would be like, wow, that's unbelievable. But now it's like, it's serious. When you see it, you're like, you see why, because people want to see the players. They want to be at the point where these players are doing unbelievable things in the game itself. So there is definitely a need. Just because we had a break and we were online, I don't think people go, well, I rather prefer this than seeing it in person. And I would definitely I would say if everything goes right with the world and we are alive and kicking in 2021, there definitely would be a live event. I don't see why not, if not more. I would hope there's more, just because the teams themselves, I mean, that's kind of what a lot of the franchises,
right.
They want the live event portion of it. And that
has to get back to the point, because it's just larger, right? It's just larger than life. When you had the Paris Stadium, the Nest in China,
Mm-hmm.
like you had, all over the biggest stadiums in the world. This isn't like a small fry one-off.
No,
so it was just
especially
bigger and bigger. And if this is just the pause to what's to come, I think physical, and now we're going to get into immersive more and more, and interactive during the event and before, after, and that's exciting too.
Right, and I would say this is that I'm always trying to find the opportunity in all situations. And the situation here obviously is not the greatest, but though, it gave us an opportunity to pause and understand, when we ever go back into live events, what do we need to work on, and what are the things we can plan to make things even better. It's not just even being innovative, but also, like with esports, I've come to realize your windows of getting prepared for anything is so short. It's so fast. It's always rapid. You're always pivoting. And I think this gave us time to kind of like take a breath and go, you know what, this could be a great opportunity for us. When we do come back, we're going to be coming back, I won't say stronger than ever, but like come back with really have a good understanding of what we really need to do to make sure fans are engaged on site, not just watching the teams play each other in person, but also how can we make ourselves be more innovative and creative with mobile when they're on site, or engagements on site, and that's what things in. I think the teams want that, because like, they're trying to build a fan base, and they want, we're about tangible, taking something that's not tangible, like playing video games, and making it a tangible experience, and trying to keep it consistent with the game itself. And so this gave us kind of a pause to really understand, like, how can we make this tangible experience best it can be, and that really tells the story of our players, of our league, and of the game. And that's the benefit, I feel like, of being at home for the last 4.5 months. So you think about, what can we do to make things even better, and that's what I've been it's been excited, keep me excited for this time where we're just stuck at home for the last 4.5 months.
Yeah, I truly believe the fan experience will be incredible, so much that like everyone will be thankful for this off time. I do honestly believe that. I do think that it's going to come back with twice the power, twice the fury, and it's going to be really awesome for the fan side. And it's going to be exciting for, our side, on the business side as well, because a lot of that is going to be kind of a guinea pig, like testing. But at the same time, it's kind of like the moment of truth, because like you said, we've been waiting now for it's been 6 months, but hopefully, realistically, January. So let's just watch. Crazy to say we're going to wash another 6 months, but realistically, live events will not be coming back in its full till like January, February, and God bless after. But so being optimistic about it, you're looking at that, and you're looking at a lot of the setup, and there's going to be a lot of great things that companies are setting up to come back and present. And that's kind of the model of the MLS. Anytime there was in the last 10 years, look at the growth of the MLS, right? And 10 years you were there. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely nuts. So to think of that to happen to the event space for the purposes of today's conversation, with what had happened during the 10 years of MLS, now they're thinking about competing in like the worldwide stage, that's amazing for what could be in esports.
Right. I mean, for MLS, like I said, when I first joined with the Galaxy, it was like we were just a local professional soccer team, right? And we would get 15,000 people in an event, would be great, but unfortunately we're playing in a Rose Bowl that holds 92,000 people, so it's not the best experience, right? And when we start getting investors and like Phil Anschutz were really heavily involved in the push of Major League Soccer, because he owned a few teams in the league, and he was a a person that was driven to make sure soccer was popular in the United States. But the things that came is that you start building soccer specific stadiums, right? And then from there you start getting certain talent. Like we were talking about this before. It's like David Beckham was a big pivotal point for MLS to become legitimate. It was somewhat legitimate as like they knew of the league itself on a worldwide stage, but it put LA Galaxy on a global stage in a matter of months. We were playing. I always laugh at this. I tell people, I was like, when I first started, it was like, we're playing in front of like whatever 15,000, 20,000 people at times, and then and we would have to we'd be invited to play an exhibition match with some team, and we would have to somehow pay for our way to get there and do all the stuff. And then when David Beckham comes into this thing, it's like we're getting paid loads of money to go play in Australia and play in New Zealand and play in Canada, just in exhibition matches. And going from, this little small club to all of a sudden we're traveling to Australia to play in a sold out venue that holds 65,000 people in months. I'm talking, in a month's span. It's mind blowing. And I think that's what we were talking about before. Like esports has the opportunity to, the players are going to be the key thing to make this go to another level. The games are always going to be there. The games are always going to be constant. It's like people don't go to see football game because of the football or just the game. They watch it because of the players. And once we start getting players on a consistent level that are popular and always in the limelight, and that's where it's going to make that change, right? Right now it's the streamers that are doing that. The streamers are the ones that are popular.
Right.
But when you start getting players that are the streamers and people know them as a household name, that's when that's the flip. It's going to be when it gets into that general market phase. So sorry, my family's behind me.
Oh, that's the part of the the pandemic that we're in, that we're all having the same stuff. No, you're absolutely right about the shift and how it translates from MLS and traditional sports to esports and esports teams that are looking for the future of the 10 years model of what's to come. I'm just worried that just like the MLS, if you didn't get in 10 years ago, you're probably not going to get in again. I mean, right? Like you only got one Miami, like Beckham, and people, ironically. And then with the esports, the bids are now $20-30 million. So
yeah, you can say that, but I think what happens next is that look at the investors like in Overwatch League and Call of Duty League. A lot of them are owners of sports teams, right? And so they see this amount of money to a team as much as an, I guess, I don't say deal, but it's like if I'm going to buy a team, if I want to be on a professional team of some sort, it's relatively inexpensive. Look at MLS now. I think right now the game teams are going for, I think, in the $300 million range for MLS teams. You're talking about billions for MLB and football, NFL. So, but they see it. I think what esports has to its advantage, and I think people would buy it as a premium, is that its demographic is younger, and that's what MLS was like this about 10, 15 years ago. It's like it was a younger demographic. That's why a lot of sponsors want to be involved in it, because it got to a younger viewer. Esports, same way. It's even younger now. And so I think, yes, there's going to be these teams that are can afford it, but there's going to be a lot more. It's kind of like any other type of industry. When things get popular, the big money comes in and starts taking it over. And that's why I see how, with esports, so there will be a life for clubs that are not in this upper echelons of clubs. There'll be the minor. I think there's got to be a lot of work on the minor league level, or just like the growth level.
Right.
I think that's where esports is having its challenge. Yeah. And I know there's leagues that are trying to make that work. Same thing with that's kind of like the model of just soccer in general. It's like you have to build those. You got to build grassroots,
right?
And it takes time, right? But those teams that they can't afford to go into a match of high league. There'll be a league for them somehow, some way. I mean, there's soccer in the United States has USL soccer. There's the NISL. There's all these minor league, but they're professional, but they're local based. They're local based soccer clubs that have a fan base. But that's just the way, I think, just the way things are turning. I think that's the way the industry kind of works when it comes to with leagues become more and more popular. It's just going to be a bigger premium, right?
Yeah.
And I think leagues also need to be intelligent enough when they do bring a team in. What's their longevity? What's their plan? Like you said, there's some teams we won a championship and the next year they're gone because they just can't financially support it, right?
Our team.
Yeah.
I've been very honest and vocal about it. Like we very highest the next year. It's happening as we speak. Mm-hmm. We're no longer in it and invested, but regardless, that's exactly what happens, right? The investors got it, they see it. No, we're good, we're out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's honestly what happened because we're in a tier 3 world,
mm-hmm.
But $30 million looks like a bankruptcy, looks like a takeover, as you've seen. And I don't want to name names,
Yeah.
So, but it is a very costly business. But
the business right now is so fluid, right? It's kind of the wild, wild west, right?
Yes.
People are still trying to get their footing and nothing is fully baked when it comes to
in the region.
Yeah.
Like you can't get away with like a team that just won the championship last year and they're almost bankrupt this year in America. It's just not that quick in America or Europe. But in Turkey, Brazil, Philippines, in these third world but very large gaming countries, it's exactly that. 1 year you're the man, the next year you're at the very bottom. And we'll raise our hand. That's exactly what happened to us in our situation. And it's very costly. Everybody expects it to be a dream. And you won this championship and you thought all the sponsors were going to come. You're competing with some of the biggest.
It's hard.
It's just not like it.
And I think it's like you have to those teams have to survive like how minor league baseball survives in a way. You have to don't think big now. Think regionalize yourself.
Survive.
Set a foundation. Yeah. Work with local. I know it sounds it's not the big glamorous thing, but do this. Get your local sponsor. Go to the mom and pop sandwich store down the street to say, "Hey, sponsor. Love to be a sponsor thing. Of our team." And you got to start baby steps, right? And you set that foundation, and little by little, as the team gets better, it gets more notice. More investors will probably get involved. More sponsors can become bigger.
Right.
I think what the problem is with esports and just our, is just that everybody wants it now. Wants it right now, and it's it has to be patience because if you want to build something that has sustaining power, you have to grind it out at the very beginning, set a foundation, and then work your way up. It's not going to be immediate because if you try to be immediate, it's just what happened. I know I can go back to my old soccer with the NASL way back in the day. That's what happened. There was the Cosmos and there was all the other teams. Cosmos had all the money, right? And they bought Pele and Beckenbauer and all these guys. And they would sell at their venue and they would go to other places to sell. But the sidekicks of I forget they're from, I think Kansas City, they're not going to survive because they don't have the names. They can't afford names. They don't have the investors that can do it. But you got to develop that foundation and work your way up. And so it's just be patient and be smart how it to make that next phase, next step. And I think teams can definitely be there. And that's also, but that's right now there's nothing there too. There's no overall foundation to make sure that minor leagues or there's that third tier is going to be successful, right? It's so big, it's global. It's hard to handle something that's so global. I mean, Overwatch League, That's such a global brand, and you have to think about all different markets, not just the U.S. that you're familiar with. You got to think of China, think of Korea, you got to think of, think of Europe, and those type of things. Those are the steps that make things a little more difficult.
No, I think, and we'll see coming out of this, what are the new innovations? You said a lot of good things just in that last sentence that, made me think about, exactly where is this headed? What is to come on the league side if you're interested to get involved on the teams, which means they're going to compete in events, all of that, understanding that there's still academy leagues being built. There's still sub leagues like G leagues and different lower tier leagues, and there's always going to be new games. That's something that's exciting about
development as well. Mm-hmm.
Just bringing it full circle for our conversation today is that we started by saying that the developers need to innovate, and they need to constantly bring in new games, new new maps, in your case, new exciting patches and metas and uploads, and that's what and then new streamers come. They start breaking records because they love the game. And no better example, just again to bring it full circle, than Warzone and Call of Duty and what's happened during the pandemic and everything. So I learned a lot today on the session, as I always do, speaking to you about the events. I'm excited because I know that I always try to get some stuff out of you for 2021, but we'll see what comes in 2021. We're anxiously and passionately waiting to see what comes of it, and I'm positive we'll be back in full force. James, we're excited to see what's coming. I would love to follow up with you in 2021 when the dust settles a bit, and once the announcements start coming, I'll be like, hey, I think this was coming, but I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for educating our audience today.
No problem, Kevin, at all.
I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Definitely will. You have a good one.
Oh, I should mention, and to finish it off, actually, it's best that you and I come from the same alumni.
That's right.
A school. We're both USF Dons.
We're Dons, baby.
We have San Francisco. So, actually, a quick shout out to Dr. Dan Rashner, if I hope I'm saying that correctly, who connected us. So, the world's a crazy place, but it's a small place. So, take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
You too, Kevin. Take care of yourself.
Talking to you. Thank you.
Okay.